One. Welcome into the latest episode of Betting the Pitch presents the MLB Baseball podcast with at A Brooks Bets. We went 2-0 in our best bets. We will slightly ignore the incredible, horrible officiating in the Chicago Cubs New York Mets game because it won at A Brooks Bets his best bet. Besides that, how is life? How is the baseball world treating you?
It's good. I've enjoyed it so far. I've been keeping much better track of the entire season, through this podcast and other ways. It's been fun. My horse lost, had a perfect trip in the Derby and lost, but that we'll just zoom right past that. It's hard to win 1 out of 20 horses, but I was so happy all the way to the top of the stretch and you almost did it. Anyway,
I
that's what
was
I've been
rooting for
focused
you
on this
because
weekend.
resilience, if I remember correctly, looked fairly resilient. Was kind of setting up for a
Yeah.
run to make a big run at the end. But do you think it would have come back and won by a nose while another horse beat another horse by a nose?
Well, had a perfect trip, just didn't have it in the end. So that's sometimes the way it goes.
Sometimes the way it goes. Sometimes you might even
Yeah.
call in and challenge the last out of a game with a runner belly flopping into home plate. And with the clear, I literally presented video evidence from screenshots showing a setup with a pitcher's or a catcher's foot on the plate, which had been ruled as blocking the plate a year before and a walk-off win against me with the White Sox against the Rangers. Now, fast forward 1 year, rule has not changed. They instead sent out memos. You cannot step on the plate before receiving the ball. It's exactly what Chicago Cubs catcher, whatever his name is, Amaya did, and still ruled a clean, just literally instant replay. Then they screwed the Mets last night as well, but that's not what this podcast is about. It's about trying to find winners. So we're going to move on to
Well, when
another.
they all those calls go against you, it hurts when trying to find winners.
Well,
I
it
feel your pain. You'd
it
think
certainly
like when
does.
replay was instituted, I guess when it first was, maybe 20 years ago, and we had probably standard definition or whatever, like it made the game better. And now, I mean, you can go back to the moving screen last night in the NBA playoff game. It's chaos at the end of the game, and it's the opposite of chaos. It's every 10 seconds they stop it, and you have no idea what's about to happen. It's the
I,
wildest thing. Replay is like, I'm officially kind of over replay. I wish they would just call the games or make it all robot. I don't know, one or the other, but something's got to go because that game is the Knicks game last night was just like stop and start again. And same thing with your game in the Mets and Cubs. It was just like, how do you call that two different ways in two different times when it was the same thing? But here we are.
Clearly, there's human error, which I will forever. I mean, you're sounding like Crosby Burnett at this point, who's like, no replay, kill it all, just allow these like aged nerds on the field to call what they see. They're usually pretty good. I'll give them that, but some of the calls that they blow are egregious. And when replay messes things up, when they can literally look at a rule book next to the screen,
Yeah.
that's what makes me the most upset. But that's not going to impact us. You just need to I guess take it on the chin and move on to the next day of betting in Major League Baseball because there's still going to be another game the next day until probably November. So we're going to start doing that. We'll start on Wednesday, May 8th's card with the New York Mets and Jose Quintana visiting St. Louis and Sonny Gray. Might as well start with the Mets, earliest game on the schedule. The gods probably made it that way. Currently looking at Jose Quintana 151 underdogs. So Sonny Gray minus 165 at home. Total is 7.5. Juiced a little bit to over. Sonny Gray's still got a microscopic ERA at this point. Jose Quintana does not.
Right. Sonny Gray's been lights out. I mean, he's supposed to have been lights out for his whole career. He's now did a little dive on him. He's 34 years old. He's no longer young. Quintana's 35, barely older than him. So, I mean, I get maybe he's rounding into form at 34 years old. I don't know, but he has had a great season, no doubt, and Quintana has not. The Cardinals are in last place, however. I wonder if they're going to tear that thing down. They've got Arenado and Goldschmidt on the books, and I mean, they're just not. I think teams might covet those players down the stretch. So we'll see what the Cardinals decide to do. They've had such a nice core for such a long time. I can't envision them rebuilding like that. Like the Marlins have already started by trading Arias. But anyway, when it comes down to this game, I mean, you look at the pitching matchup, and I want to bet Gray. Then you're like, well, the Cardinals are in last place. The Mets are 7.5 out already. I mean, they're kind of middling, although the Phillies are running away with it and the Braves will always be there. But I'm going to go Cardinals first five in this one. Cardinals
Okay.
first five. I'll believe in Sonny Gray, and I will not believe in their bullpen. So that's why I'm going Cardinals first five.
Yeah, I don't blame you going against any sort of Jose Quintana start. I mean, I backed him on Friday night, got 7 earned runs, I think, given up by Aaron Savali, and I was still losing like the entire game. So I mean, it seemed like Savali, excuse me, like Quintana still had decent stuff on Friday. He's never been a strikeout guy, but when you're not a strikeout guy and you are not missing bats, it's just you are walking the plank basically. And sometimes you might jump in and maybe the alligators aren't swimming below you, but that's my biggest concern in this one. I think in general I like the bullpens in this game though, so I'll go under 7.5 or under 4 first five. We'll move next to San Diego Padres and Dylan Cease visiting Hayden Wesneski and the Chicago Cubs. We have Cease a minus 118 favorite on the road. San Diego's getting a fair amount of respect, or maybe just people don't believe in the Chicago Cubs at all because they're an underdog in a bunch of games in the Milwaukee series as the Cardinals give up a 3-run game tying home run. Speaking of sucking to suck. But it seems to me that Dylan Cease has been awesome to start this year. Maybe that trade was worth it.
Yeah, he's got the swing and miss stuff for sure. He's bound to blow up at some point, or at least he has in the past. I do like what I've always liked Dylan Cease. I think he's a guy that's got the stuff to make it in the big leagues. And then Wisniewski's been awesome too. I mean, he's been incredible. He's not like a totally highly regarded prospect. I think he was a 6th-round pick, but he's pitched well, and I'm going to believe in the Cubbies in this one. I mean, again, it's probably I'll call it a toss-up game in my mind, and then so if you're going to call the Cubs an underdog at home, I'll take them.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I don't really love the idea of fading Dylan Cease, but I'm still not convinced that any dominant pitcher away from home that has a lot of concerns the rest of the team is worth backing as a road favorite. Chicago, I mean, I was thinking because I backed Chicago last night and felt like they were in a really great position a couple times, had man at third with no outs in the first inning, had bases loaded, no outs later in the game, scored 0 runs from both of those combined. Looking at Ian Happ hitting the 3-hole with Bellinger on the IL, Seiya Suzuki out on the IL as well. That lineup is pretty weak right now. I'm not sure it was very strong in the beginning before the injuries started occurring. That's my biggest concern here, but the only way I could lean is with you on the Cubs plus 108. Move next to Miami visiting the Los Angeles Dodgers. Seems like a AAA team has made their way into the bigs. Currently, Gavin Stone at home to Ryan Weathers. Gavin Stone minus 253 cent favorite. So 253 minus 253. Total is 9, juice pretty heavily to under. Getaway day certainly helps with Ryan Weathers trying to keep the ball in the yard. Any belief in those Marlins somehow pulling off a big shocker, as I think the Dodgers have 5 straight wins heading into Tuesday night.
Yeah, it turns out Otani can still hit even with a broken arm or a Tommy John surgery. I mean, that doesn't seem to affect hitters very much. Bryce Harper proved it last year too, but man,
Well, now that he's not
yeah,
betting his under total bases every game, right?
yeah, they are. I saw that the top 5 batters in their lineup have an OPS of like 980. So it's like they're all. I mean, if you add it all up with Will Smith and Otani and Mookie Betts and Max Muncy's been on a tear. I mean,
Ready.
they are who we thought they were in a good way. To quote, I think, what was it, Herm Edwards? No,
Yeah,
Jim
yeah.
Mora. They are
Uh,
who we thought they were.
no,
We'll let
I
them off the
thought
hook.
Dennis
But
Green. Dennis Green.
Dennis Green, yeah, that sounds right.
R.I.P.
Cardinals coach, right?
Yeah, yeah. Monday Night
I
Football.
actually bet the Marlins yesterday. I think they were plus 300 and change juice. I mean, they jumped out to 2-0 lead and then lost the game 5-2, I think, or they lost the game. But I don't like Ryan Weathers. You know that. Gavin Stone's not all that impressive. I'm not going to touch this game. The Dodgers are a juggernaut. I don't believe in the Marlins. They don't believe in themselves. They traded away a 2-time batting champ just last week.
Yeah, I feel like if you could get any value from RIS, it was probably worth it. But Miami looks like a team. I'm just hoping that they continue to be favored at home because I'll be betting against them and watching my Rockies bet blow up in flames with a 5-0 lead in the ninth inning. Moving next to Arizona and Jordan Montgomery at Graham Ashcraft and Cincinnati Reds. Montgomery, another one of those slight road favorites, minus 112 to get plus 102 coming back on Cincinnati. Total is 9, just slightly more to over than to under. Cincinnati's offense seems really, really limited to me. It seems like Ellie De La Cruz and a bunch of, I don't know, Miami Marlins at this point.
Yeah, so Ellie has been batting sixth most of the year. And in that same stat that I saw, the Dodgers crushing everybody in the first 5 spots in their lineup, the Reds are dead last behind the White Sox. So they have moved Ellie to second. TJ Friedel came back today, who is like a bunt single guy. He certainly doesn't hit the ball hard. Maybe he gives them a little spark. These two teams, the Diamondbacks and Reds, are probably they're probably some of the top most disappointing teams so far this year. They're both kind of on an upward trajectory. Obviously, the Diamondbacks making the World Series and the Reds becoming all sorts of young and exciting and on the fast track to making playoffs, and both have been reeling. Both have disappointed in terms of betting on them. I'll probably bet the underdog here, if anything, which turns out is the Reds at home. Jordan Montgomery might be going through extended spring training kind of stuff. I know it's been a month now. He did sign a little late, but he's a horse if they could get to the postseason. Saw Corbin Carroll hit a home run, his second one of the year just now.
Wow.
So maybe there's something there with the D-backs and they get going. Maybe there's something there with the Reds and they get going. But right now, I'd lean to the underdog, which is the Reds in this one.
Yeah, I feel like Arizona still's got a fair amount of respect from their World Series run last year, which is deserved because it's hard to do that. But I don't think anyone saw that coming or believes it could repeat itself. I did back Jordan Montgomery's last start against the Dodgers. He's been really confusing for me because I love betting against him at times with the Yankees because the Yankees are always overpriced and he doesn't strike out anybody. But then seemed like he was a really good pitcher for the Rangers last season, was pretty good ever since that trade to St. Louis as well. Now I don't know what to do with him, but he still doesn't strike people out, and that's a big concern in a very small ballpark. But honestly, the Great American Small Park has been seeing a ton of runs, or hasn't been seeing a ton of runs, partly because of Cincinnati's inability to score. With that said, I think in a coin flip, you play the underdog, and that'll, I think, come out on the correct side of the ledger. Long time over the long run. So I'll go Cincinnati there as well. Moving next, San Francisco at Colorado. Got Jordan Hicks coming off some sort of arm injury, but potentially looks like he's making a start in the altitude. So they wouldn't be starting that prize asset if he wasn't fine. Philip Patrick, something P. Lambert starting for Colorado. We got a plus 151 home underdog here on Colorado. Total is 10.5, and it's used pretty heavily to under here. We're going to start seeing some Colorado overs coming in eventually someday. Like, is it warm enough? It should be.
Yeah, maybe their offense is kind of historically bad. Their DH spot is non-existent. For a team that hits where they do, there's no excuse to not score runs. They're third to last in the big leagues in runs scored. I mean, and they, I don't know how much is Coors worth. 2, 3? I don't know. Like, you see this line at 10. I mean, that's about as low as you ever see it. And like you said, it's juiced to the under. People might be leaning under, and I am too, actually. I'm going to bet the under in this one. Jordan Hicks has lost 4 miles an hour off his fastball. I know he's been a reliever kind of primarily. He's been bouncing around that starting, relieving, whatever, when he was with the Cardinals primarily. And he's been pitching pretty effectively by doing that. A lot of times you don't see guys lose 4 miles an hour off your fastball and pitch better, but he hasn't, because I think he's doing it on purpose to try to get a little bit more length and to try to be a little bit more healthy. As you said, he's already had an injury scare, and I guess they deem that he's good to go. So I'll bet the under in this one. I don't believe in the Rockies one bit. Even at home, I know Coors Field's got a giant outfield and the ball flies. We all know all that, but let's go contrarian pick here and go under at Coors.
Yeah, I don't think I'm with you on this one. I'm sad to say. I mean, we might as well have some disagreement here. I just
That's fine.
forever in Colorado forever. I'm going to say over until they make that. I don't really know what they can do because it's almost like the ballpark is so big because it has to be that it makes every flare fall in, every seeing eye, like whatever, like 85 mile an hour off the bat just gets over the second baseman head type scenario, and it just that adds up, I think, over a season. We'll see certainly as the weather gets hotter that we'll see the Rockies hit the ball better. But I think they probably suck at everything because they are a terrible franchise and are an embarrassment to Major League Baseball, which is saying something considering who is the manager or the MLB commissioner and how he once said that they're just playing for a hunk of metal. Moving now to the American League in a early getaway day game, we have Detroit. Who I happen to be wearing my polo fresh from the Detroit team store, which I probably spent way too much money on, but I had too many drinks and decided I wanted to remember the day for at least one more week. We got Reese Olson starting at Tanner Bybee. Currently, Bybee minus 135 favorite at home, plus 124 coming back on Detroit. Over under here is 8, juiced more to the under than to the over. Bybee hasn't been great this year. Are you buying his bounce back?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. As we speak, that game is like 11-7, so it's way over. Even and I was leaning under, so maybe maybe it gets bet a little higher, and I can get under 8.5 or something. I don't know how it'll go, but Stephen Kwan out. Something that you said last podcast was it stuck with me the entire week is that the Guardians are
Yikes,
good at
that's a
baseball.
scary thing, but go
No,
ahead.
but if you watch them, if you watch these games, I agree with you that it helps to watch them, not just look at stats and analytics, although that's kind of what baseball has turned into. But the Guardians are actually good. Like everybody on their team slides correctly and they don't run into the wall full speed and like little things like that don't show up. They are good at baseball. I mean, they're a decent team to watch. Their best hitter is a switch hitter, like all that kind of stuff. I think kind of lines up. They just called up Kyle Manzardo, who already has kind of like, I'm not saying he's going to be Juan Soto, but he's got a very high walk rate and a very low whiff rate. I mean, like that's the kind of strike zone control that I think good teams and good, especially good young players who might have an impact quickly, might have. But anyway, the Guardians are just kind of fun to watch. The Guardians are pretty good at baseball. They're leading their division, and Stephen Kwan out does hurt though. I heard that he's been a contact guy first, and he hasn't whiffed very much. And his big adjustment this offseason was to swing harder, and
Right.
that's what
Hell
he's
yeah.
done. And he's had some pop, and he had good numbers. So he's out for a month, I think, with a hamstring, which is unfortunate. Um, I'll lean under in this one too. Riley Green's been really stroking it lately. He's kind of rounded into form, what everybody thought he might be last year or the year before when he came up. Um, I am gonna lean under here. Olson's a good ground ball pitcher. He's got a good chase rate, and Bybee has an elite changeup, but a terrible fastball. So I'm kind of scared about that. I don't want to bet a guy with a terrible fastball, or at least terribly ineffective so far. But give me the under.
So I went bought this beautiful polo. Thank you very much for your compliment. Against or I bought it while watching Reese Olson dominate the Kansas City Royals, give up one run, I think, in the first inning, and then not another run after that. But he's gotten no support this entire season. I don't really think it's going to change. I think Detroit's lineup is really bad. I think Bybee is one of my favorite pitchers to bet on. He's usually not this type of favorite, though, so that's a little bit different of a scenario. Like both bullpens, like that the home team's favored. Probably we'll only see 8 at bats from Cleveland if they win regulation. So give me under 8 as well, or under 4.5 first half. Moving next to Texas at Oakland, and we have a doubleheader. I think a scheduled doubleheader because they played a day game today. I guess we don't have numbers yet, but Michael Lorenzen starting in the early one. Apparently, this is probably why we don't have numbers. We don't know for sure who's starting, but it looks like Michael Lorenzen in the early game against JP Sears. And then in the nightcap, it's like Jack Leiter getting called back up to start against Oscar Bido, something like that. What are your thoughts on Jack Leiter and his return to the big leagues?
I mean, I think you got to be better than that first start. I mean, that was terrible. I think he's got the pedigree, he's got the stuff. I'd believe in him more than that first start. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust or anything. I actually like him. I like him to get better at the end of the season. I think that I've been high on the Rangers all season, and especially in the second half once they get Scherzer back and maybe Leiter actually contributes to the rotation and does some good things on the hill. I think that they'll be fine. I think the Rangers are a better team than the A's, but we don't have a line now. I imagine they're probably more than minus 150. I mean, it's probably, I don't know. The A's are scrappy. What do you think about the A's? Like, I mean, are they for real? Or they're 17 and 19? They're almost 500. Like, I mean, nobody expected that.
Here's a question for you: who finishes higher in the standings, the Oakland Athletics or the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim?
I'd probably go A's at this point.
Yeah, I think it really
I mean,
depends on when Mike Trout comes back, but I'm tempted. The A's are off to a good start.
yeah,
They've been winning games at home. I don't know
they pitch
how,
well.
like, crowd support's gonna be weird. Yeah, they pitch well. The bullpen's good.
Mason Miller
Um,
is electric.
yeah, we'll see how many innings he pitches. I imagine they're
Yeah.
going to shut him down at some point, but maybe that lasts a fairly long amount of time, or he like maybe pulls a hamstring or something like that, quote unquote, and then they sit
Right.
him for half the
Like the old
season.
Shaquille O'Neal big toe injury in February he always had. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, too big of a night at Live in Miami probably back then, or whatever the heck at I don't even know what the clubs in Los Angeles would be, but regardless, yeah, that's my feeling. I think Jack Leiter, and pretty much all I think minor leaguers with a lot of hype. I think you got to prove it to me before I believe in you. So we'll see. Certainly, it's going to have a good career, it seems, but I want to see it until it happens. So I'm interested in Oakland, especially because they've been good at home, but they choked up Monday night's game as I was outside with my fire alarm going off. Thank you, Arpeggio Apartments. Appreciate that. 11-19 last night, and then they also got massacred today. I think it was 15-2 at one point, Rangers. So we'll see about that one, and a weird
But
schedule.
The A's fought back and I think finished 15-9, 15-8. So,
Well,
they're not dying on the as easily as you might think they are, as I would.
they've got some fight before they move to
Yeah.
Tropicana, or what used to be Tropicana in Las Vegas in 2094. We'll move next to Chicago White Sox visiting the Tampa Bay Rays. Got Chris Flexen at Aaron Savale. Savale on the other side of that Quintana disaster of a pitching performance. I guess if you had over, it was probably a pretty fun bet to make. But Flexen a plus 196. Actually, BetOnline doesn't have a number up on this game, so we'll pick bookmaker here. So Flexen plus 192 on the road. Tampa Bay minus 230 at home. Total is 8, just a little bit more to over than to under. Tough ballpark to see the ball fly out of. That probably is a great spot for Chris Flexen, because he is used to trying to strain that neck muscle, looking back, watching the ball fly so far over his shoulder.
He's flexing his neck and just looking at
Ah,
that.
yes, he
I got that.
is.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
Savale has been a guy who I know you liked a couple years ago when he
Ha!
came up, and
Oops.
he hasn't
Oops.
been all the way there yet. But he has a 6.14 ERA this year and a 3.67 expected ERA. So I think there's positive regression coming for Savale. I think that this is a great bounce back spot for any pitcher at any time playing the White Sox, especially on the road. That doesn't even matter, I don't think. So I'll take I don't even know what it is, but I'm going to take the White Sox team total under. It's probably 3. I'll take 3 or under.
Interesting. It probably, I mean, make it 3.5
would be
maybe.
great.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. Do you know who went to Cleveland in the Aaron Savali deal?
No.
Kyle Manzardo.
Oh, okay.
It
Well,
all comes full circle, though. I don't know why
yeah.
you give up that prize of a prospect for Aaron freaking Savale. But in the past, I've trusted Tampa. I'm starting to waver a little bit about that trust. I like the idea of being against Savale, and I think I like the Chicago White Sox run line. Good chance they lose 1-0 here and covers my bet, and the Rays still win. But I just feel like Savale, yes, there's a big discrepancy. The MLB market loves to bet those reversion to the means, either direction positive. I think they more like to bet the negative ones, but I just don't think Savale, like, he's got stuff. He's got good breaking balls and stuff. He just doesn't throw hard enough, and I feel like too many of his pitches just are straight in an area where the opposing hitter wants them exactly to be. Moving next to the Bronx, we have Houston and Arrighetti starting at Carlos Rodon. Looks like Rodon is a minus 138 favorite at home. Totals 8.5. Arrighetti has not been competitive so far in his Major League Baseball career. Feels kind of like I mean, Justin Verlander getting rocked tonight wasn't a great sign, but this is a very different number for Carlos Rodon, who's been one of those big time reversion to the mean candidates, or a lot of people that are seeing great numbers and are questioning that he's able to do that fully.
Yeah, his sliders. I watched a game his last start, His slider actually looks good. It kind of looks like that old Chris Sale slider. It's finally okay. He's kind of a two-pitch pitcher.
Are
Yeah, the
you
big
saying like a
sweeping slider
sweeper
kind of
now
thing.
that goes all across the plate? Because I remember Chris Sale and in good Chris Sale days, and people would swing and they would miss by like feet.
Yeah. It's like the old Randy Johnson thing where they used to
Hmm.
swing and miss and then it hit them. Like if they were a right-handed batter against a left-handed slider, they would corkscrew
Embarrassing.
themselves in the ground and get hit by the pitch.
Hell yeah.
That's a good slider.
That's a strike, brother.
All three of those
Sorry.
guys are in the same mold, tall, lanky lefties.
Yeah.
Randy Johnson obviously did it the best and for the longest, but um, Arrigetti's not somebody I'm really looking to back necessarily. The Bronx Bombers were kind of back this year. I mean, are you going to bet on the Astros to turn it around ever? Because against the Yankees might be a good number to try that. I mean, you're not. I don't. Vegas hasn't Bet Online hasn't shown that they're really backing off the Astros at all, except for kind of this game. I mean, I feel like this is a good number to bet the Astros if you think they'll turn it around.
Yeah, well, I would almost say no because only plus 127 right now coming back on a pitcher who has not shown that he is competitive at major league level. That seems
Yep.
very respectful of Houston. I don't I mean, I did back Justin Verlander tonight, so I guess joke's on me. But I am looking to be against both these teams as much as possible. I don't think that Arrigetti's gonna. I just don't think he's someone I can back with even my worst enemies' money at this point. Even with Rob Manfred's money, I don't think I could do it. So at this point, I think I lean over 8.5 just because it's a low total in a little league field, and you never know. Pop up to right field is usually a home run in that park. Moving next to Seattle, visiting Minnesota, we got George Kirby at Chris Paddock. I watched Chris Paddock start against Boston, and he was awesome. But was that him or was that Boston? We'll see. George Kirby at minus 115 road favorite, small plus 105, and Chris Paddock at home. Over under is 8 here, just all the way under. Minnesota's been really hot, but they've been playing some pretty poor teams. And now Seattle comes in, and they've been, I think, outperforming anyone's expectations to this point, especially because they're like one of the worst lineups offenses in baseball.
Yeah, Chris Paddock has been pretty good. He was highly touted coming out of San Diego and had a great rookie year, I believe it was, and then
Yep.
has fallen way off since then. Maybe injuries have contributed to it. I like Paddock in this spot against Kirby. So George Kirby obviously doesn't walk very many people, but I saw some poll on the internet, and you know how the internet can be. But who's the best control pitcher of all time? Greg Maddux, George Kirby, or somebody else? I was
Oh
like, are
yeah.
people really thinking
Oh
George
yeah.
Kirby is that? I mean, yeah, he only walks like 2% of the guys or something, but I mean, I don't see that. If anybody's thinking that, I don't think the results ended up being in Kirby's favor on that poll. But the fact that anybody would be asking the question is kind of wild to me. He seems to be getting kind of mega hyped at this point. He's not had tremendous results. But it is he's a good pitcher. He's a serviceable starter for sure in the big leagues. I'm going to bet the Twins at home in this one though. Um, did I forgot what the number you said was, but they're a dog. I'm sure.
Yeah, Twins plus 105. I like that side as
Yep.
well. Paddock
Yep.
threw a bunch of sliders against Boston. Never really expected those to come out of his arm, but I guess that's a thing now. Um, from a Seattle side, yes, George Kirby is great at not walking people, but I think that's actually problematic because he's throwing a fastball in the zone 3-2. And I think that didn't work very well for him in Houston on Friday. So I guess I backed the Astros now twice in like 4 days. So I need to check my pulse. Though I did back Seattle the last two games of that series, won every game of that Seattle Houston series last weekend. I wish it was going to go on for the rest of the season. And I imagine that George Kirby would win a poll of who has peed on less teammates with Greg Maddux, but I
Probably.
honestly I don't know if he's a peer as well. Moving now to interleague, we have the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and Joel Soriano visiting Martin Perez and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pirates minus 129 home favorites. Total is 8, pretty heavily juiced under those Angels. I think Willie Calhoun is hitting cleanup, right?
Yeah. They can't score. They're not in a good spot as a franchise. But Soriano throws hard and has a good breaking ball, and he's 25 years old, and he's probably got some upside. The Angels will probably ruin it somehow. They're 2-8, and over their last 10 games, I mean, Angels are just not very good. I know we've said that the Pirates aren't as good as maybe the first 7 wins of the year would have indicated, but um, and the line on this one is probably too steep, but I'll lean under in this one. I don't think really the Pirates can hit. I think Soriano can keep him at bay. Um, and I don't think the Angels can hit at all ever against anybody.
Yeah, which I think makes me actually feel like minus 129 on the home team is not so bad. So I'll take the Pirates
Yeah.
there as I just think they're better. And Martin Perez, I'm done trying. I mean, I've backed him his whole career. So who am I to say I'm done like betting against him? Because that's actually not correct. I think he's I can't explain how he does it. The ball must move and it just somehow avoids barrels. And that's a skill in this world. Year of our Lord 2024. Moving next, Toronto visiting Philadelphia. We got Chris Bassett at Aaron Nola. Currently, Nola minus 151 favorite at home. Over under is 8, juice very heavily to over. Feels like a pretty big price for Philadelphia, but the Toronto lineup is starting to get some press about it not being very good. Toronto bullpen's looking really, really shaky. And their best reliever, Yimi Perez, has been supposedly throwing bullpen sessions every day, deciding whether his back would allow him to pitch in a game, because I've been keeping him in my fantasy lineup in our league, and I am never able to know if he's actually going to play or not.
Yeah. The Blue Jays have not had a very good offense. I think that they're a little better than they've performed so far. The Phillies are streaking and they're awesome. I mean, Cody Clemens just borrowed Bryce Harper's bat and then hit a 3-run bomb today. I mean, I don't know what something good is going on in Philly right now. Maybe all the sad Sixers fans have gone to cheer on Trey
Oh,
Turner again. But
no, he's
but
on the IL. Another one of my fantasy team players. Thank you for shouting him out.
yeah, well, maybe they're cheering him while he's on the bench.
Yeah,
Um,
go
Bassett's been
Trey.
underwhelming.
Nice
I've
rehab.
never been that high on Bassett. I know last year he had, a bunch of quality starts and whatever, but he's not a world beater. Nola's definitely bound to the blow up. In fact, he's like alternating years on being decent. I think he had a 3.5 ERA. He got paid, and then last year it was like over 5. So I'm gonna lean over in this one. Blue Jays, Phillies over. There's actually some decent. It's not very deep, but there's some decent matchup data on the Jays hitting Nola. Several guys in their lineup have had some success against him, albeit limited at bats, 5 or 10. But I'm gonna go over in this one.
I can't imagine Aaron Nola's ERA was over 5 for the fact checkers. I see you out there, everyone, but I don't think he's very good, at least not where the market considers him to be. Chris Bassett, I think, away from home has always had bad road splits, so I like over 8 here as well. Moving next to Milwaukee, Joe Ross at Brady Singer in Kansas City. Singer actually a minus 123 home favorite. I thought he might be an underdog, but I clearly was dreaming. Over under here is 8, juiced all the way to over. Are you a believer that Brady Singer is gonna continue? Can he continue to get away with this?
Yeah, well, I think he's better than Joe Ross. I'm actually high on both of these teams. The Royals have been really good at home. Singer is a better pitcher. They're both competing in their division. I think the Brewers are leading or tied for the lead, and the Royals are right there in the AL Central as well. So I'm going to lean Royals because they're at home. I'm trying to look up the last year's Aaron Nola stat, so I
Okay.
forgot what the line was already. But is it a big,
Okay.
huge favorite for the
No,
Royals
no,
at home?
minus 123. That's the
All right,
best
yeah,
part is
definitely Royals then. Yeah,
okay. I like the Royals too. I'm hoping this line gets a little smaller, but at this point, I don't know that Joe Ross, I mean, he's been out of the game for so long. I don't know that anyone believes in him either, unfortunately. So I guess I'm not alone, but we'll both go Kansas City there. We got 2
Aaron
games
Nola's
left in the
ERA
card.
last year was 4.46, so I was
Okay.
off.
I feel like above 5, like I feel like that's
Yeah,
in
it's like
even in an analytics world, I feel like you're not a starting pitcher if your ERA is over
yeah.
5, unless you play for one of the teams that aren't trying to win. Baltimore at Washington in a big Masson battle over TV ratings and how they share their finances. Orioles are back on top.
Battle of the
Probably,
Beltway. What do they call this?
maybe.
Sounds right.
I'm sure I'm sure there's the wire reference in there somewhere, but we'll go Baltimore, a very nice minus 169 on the road. Total is 9. We got Kyle Bradish at some Parker guy who I think has gotten a fair amount of hype. Bradish who is pitching off of, or at least with, a sprained elbow UCL, which usually I think sounds like Tommy John, but I guess they're working their way through it. And he had a pretty good start in his return from the IL.
Yeah, this is his second start back. I think he only went 4, so they're probably going to treat him with kid gloves for a while. But maybe they can do that because they're the Orioles and they keep winning, and they've got a great young team, and they're in a good spot as an organization. I'm not getting enough juice here to bet the Nationals. I'm not like totally against the idea though. I'll probably lay off this one. I know, yeah, Parker's like their number 20 something prospect, but he's pitched well, so he's not like expected to be really better than he's been. And Bradish, I can't really trust him, but I guess I'll bet the Nationals if I had to choose, but I'm not going to bet this one.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that interested either. I don't really know where to go because there's
Yeah.
parts of me that likes under, parts of me that likes over, and that's usually not a good sign. Last game on our card, but there's no line for it. Nick Pivetta in Boston at A. Brooks Bets is a Boston Red Sox homer, but actually homer, that's probably a negative way to say it. Big fan. What's got him into baseball, what keeps him I guess alive every April until the Red Sox end up falling their way out of the race. Nick Pivetta coming back, visiting former Red Sox Chris Sale in Atlanta. What's your quick, I guess, take on Nick Pivetta coming back and starting against a really tough Braves lineup?
Yeah, the Braves are really good. The Red Sox have a historically good starting rotation so far. They have the second best ERA for starters since 1900, I think. It's like two in the low twos. Um, but this is one of those where Chris Sale is like one of those bulldog type guys who's not going to forget what. It doesn't matter how he was treated at the Red Sox. He's going to pretend that they treated him poorly and come out firing, and I think be great. He's just one of those mindset guys. So I would take the Braves in this one. Again, we don't have the line yet, but I even might flirt with Braves run line. I just think that this one is a Sale special.
Yeah, I'm concerned Nick Pivetta gets lit up here, so it might lean to over, if anything. So that'll do it for this episode of Betting the Pitch Major League Baseball edition. We are going to go through our best bets. Thank you for sticking around with us. And if you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/real_G Warner, the best spot to get all my plays, leans, write-ups, everything across all sports. Had a nice 2-0 Champions League today. Thank you, Borussia Dortmund. What a performance that was. And we'll find some baseball bets tomorrow as well. So for your best bet at A. Brooks Bets, we were 2-0 in our best bets last week, and I think you're still a half game ahead of me at this point in the season.
Blue Jays, Phillies over 8. I don't believe in Chris Bassett. I think Nola can, and the Phillies are rolling. I think that the Phillies can probably get there by themselves to get to 8. I think that the Blue Jays will chip away enough at Nola to make him, he had 200 strikeouts last year, but again, with the poor ERA, and sometimes he just gives up a bunch of hard contact. So, give me the over 8 Blue Jays Phillies.
So this is the real_G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. You just heard at A. Brooks bets on this, bets plural, on this Major League Baseball edition of Betting the Pitch. He gave you the over 8 in the Philadelphia, I guess, getaway game, Toronto Blue Jays at Philadelphia, Chris Bassett at Aaron Nola. For my best bet on this episode, I'm going with another day game as well. So we're going early starts, trying to get this uploaded as quickly as possible. If you're not following or subscribed to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube, please do that. Leave a 5-star review. It's also huge for search rankings. Get more of these episodes with the more likes and watches we get. But for my best bet, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh Pirates, a -129, bigger favorite than I'm used to. But I really like Martin Perez. I really like the idea of fading Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim without Mike Trout. And I just love the idea that this price is right in this area where I can fade the Angels in a way that I want to the rest of the season. So Pirates -129, Philadelphia over 8. That'll do it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in so much. We'll talk to you all very soon. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next Tuesday night for the Wednesday card.